women are under attack. And then I think men are under attack because the message to women right now, popular message, is what? You're strong.
Yes.
Be strong. Be loud.
Yes.
Like, don't back down.
Yes.
Which, that's a great message in context, right?
In context.
Yeah. Break that down.
Well, yes, have a voice. Yes, be bold. But don't be disrespectful. Don't crush the spirit. You can't give what you don't have, and that's where that internal work comes from, right? We are our reflection of the internal self.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I am here in studio with our special guest that we've had on now. This is our third time,
Yes.
Cherri Kulp with UnEarthed Coaching. Thank you so much for joining me again today.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, so we're getting requests. I have people, even people in my family, my mom saying, "Oh my gosh, she's like sharing it on social media." She's like, "That was so good. Like, I love Cherri. She's got so much wisdom." So,
Thank
it's
you.
interesting the wide variety of people that listen to this show or watch this show. But you're hitting some things that are really meaningful and powerful. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you again for having me.
All right, so I want to piggyback on what we talked about before. And you really dove into the importance of doing that internal work and becoming a healthy individual on the inside so that you can pursue those things on the outside and not letting those things hold you back from living your 5-star life or your best life.
Yes.
And I wanted to get into an area, it kind of personal area for a lot of people, and that is our romantic relationships and marriage specifically. And I wanted to start by asking you a question. If we have images, I'd love to put a picture, if she'll allow, of her and her husband. They're a beautiful couple, but they're a interracial couple. And I was curious, was race a factor as you met your current husband? Was that like somewhere in your mind as you're thinking about like, okay, am I going to do this? Is this the guy? Or was it a non-factor?
It was a non-factor. I'm happy to share the story of how we met. So I still blush to this day. This was like more than 6 years ago that I met my husband. And when I first met him, I didn't see race. I know people tend to say that, but what I saw was the glory of God. My husband spends so much time with God, and it is evident. And I actually met him through my mom. For years, she tried to hook me up with people, and she's like, "Oh, they love the Lord. They go to church." I'm like, just because they love Jesus don't mean they cute, right? And so she would always try to
That's a
connect
whole nother
me.
message, probably.
Yes, it is. And so one day, she said, I think this would be a good opportunity. And there's a couple of things behind that scene too. But I remember opening the door, and when I saw him, I just felt the glory of God. I just saw God, and I knew at that moment that was my husband. And fun fact is, I was in the process of moving to Dallas, Texas. I had the boxes in the house. Boxes were packed, labeled. I had a place to stay. But when I saw him, I was like, crap, I'm not going anywhere. So, race was not a factor. It was, I saw God before I saw anything else, and that was what had me hooked.
Okay, so piggybacking off that question, race was not a factor. It's so interesting because, this country has come so far in the world of race relations, right? But I'm curious, a part of your upbringing, were you raised not to look at race? Or was there a point in your life where that may have been an issue, but it was just the work you'd done spiritually and emotionally and mentally that got you to that point to be so, like, why are we worrying about race?
Well, what's interesting is that my family and I were the only Black family on our street. I think the street after that as well. So we knew we were not white, and we did deal with some racism as a child, and it was difficult. But I never judged a book by the cover, but the content, the character. And that has been something that has held within me and continues to this day. And yes, we still have to do work because I understand subconscious bias or unconscious bias and how the programming our brain can do to make sure someone is safe or someone is a threat. But we have to be intentional in the work that we do to understand that everyone is different. Yes, we can group people to make sure that we are in a safe space, but we have to give everyone a chance.
Yeah. And the reason I ask that is, and our listening audience knows me, that, to me, some people say, well, I don't see race. I don't see color. Well, I mean, we see it.
Yes.
But I think what we mean is like, it's all about their character and who they are. That's what matters. And most people in society, that's the way they are. So, but to me, it's so interesting because there's still, when you talk to people, even to kids, like you can see certain kids, like you can tell they've limited their relationships based on race.
Yes.
They would never say they're racist, and they're not racist. But in their head, there's these blockers that they are uncomfortable, even though they could probably not express it.
Mm-hmm. And what I would say to that is sometimes it's not the race thing, it's the culture, right? I have a lot in common with people who don't share the same amount of melanin that I do. Right. So the values. So I gravitate towards people who share the same values that I do. And so that's where the race becomes not a factor, because I know people who are white, who are Latino, who are Asian, who are Pacific Islander, who have the same value system that I do. And that's my people, right? It reminds me of the story in the Bible where Jesus says, whoever follows the will of the Lord is my mother, is my brother, right? So that is the value system that I have.
I love it. There is, I think, again, most people would say they totally agree with that. And I think, I'm just curious, what message would you say to maybe families out there that they're not talking about these things ever? They don't, they're not racist, but they don't have the conversation with their kids to see, do you have hey, would you marry, if you're white, a Latino girl, or, an African-American girl, or, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because in our home, we have those conversations and it's hilarious. I mean, one, I have teenage boys, so they say some crazy stuff, but it's fun to get their minds going about some of the limitations they may have or may not have.
And I think those are healthy conversations to have, right? I don't think we create a space to really go within ourselves to understand what are the biases that we have in life. It's an opportunity to be stretched, to grow. And I think a great way to lead that conversation is, would you be with someone who has this value system or that value system? Then if you want to bring in the race factor to see where they are, then to see, is that really the driving factor, the race part?
That's great. So to you, the core is just getting to value systems, character. That's where the true alignment is.
Absolutely. That's the stickiness. And not only am I in an interracial marriage, but an intercultural as well. My husband grew up in the Mennonite faith. And so understanding that dynamic, respecting and supporting, he's not practicing Mennonite now, but the family that he has that I love dearly are. And so being open to understand, support, and respect the traditions that is within that faith is something that I'm open to do and happy to do this.
Mm-hmm. Would you wear a head covering?
If that is something that was respectful, and if I'm in their house of faith, I would.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
So, you're such an interesting person, because there's a part of me that thinks you might be like, heck no, I'd never do that. But that kind of shares the heart of honor and respect you have for your husband, which that's like a lost art in our culture. Why is there such a lack of respect and honor, both from men to women and from women back to men, which I think that's getting heavy?
Yes, and we got a whole separate podcast about that. I think it's because of the ego, wanting to be celebrated, wanting to be a deity, right? On a pedestal. I think it's centered around that. And to be able to humble oneself is strength. And people don't see it in that way. To lower yourself, to honor, to respect is such an honorable thing to do. And that is a responsibility that you should have to have a healthy marriage, is respect. And, you know, my husband and I have this conversation a lot. We have some great conversations. And men want to be respected. Women want to be loved. And so we explain, what does that mean to me, right? And how important is that to me? And so we make sure we touch base all the time. Like, am I showing respect? Have I been disrespectful? Please share that with me, because I don't want to dishonor you.
Women want to be loved.
Yes.
Men want to be respected.
Yes.
We got to take a commercial break, but when we come back, I want to dive a little deeper into that, because I think this whole idea of honor and respect in this culture where there's very little of it is a vital topic. So we're going to take a quick break when we come back. Before we do, I want to let our listening audience know that we have something very special coming out. It's our 5-Star Life parent app. And if you go to 5starlife.org, you can see on the banner there's a little link to click to actually be the first to be a part of the 5-Star Life parent app. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be incredible, because we're going to have things like this that you can access. Go to 5starlife.org to learn more.
Hey, I'm Keenan. I got Coach Ray. Tell me a little bit about your experience with archery.
I've been shooting archery for a long, long time. And kids laugh at me when I tell them the year that I started, which was 1974, and they go, my parents weren't born then. One of the things we have out here is every coach is at least a level 1 certified coach. We have this 6-week cohort where we have them 3 times during that session for archery only. And we just finished a session just now, and those kids are getting it. I mean, they're following whistle commands. And beyond that, we have the archery clubs that we're trying to promote with regard to a more intensive, or we really drill down on the USA model, the 11-step model, and give students an opportunity. You want to go down the path of recurve Olympic archery, you want to go down the path of competitive compound shooting, you can do any number of things with it.
We want to give more and more students that opportunity, so definitely go sign up. You can get to our website, 5starlife.org, and find open programs for all things summer, and we're excited to see you there.
Come on out.
So I want to pick up where we left off. We kind of got on this path of honor and respect, and at the break you just mentioned, like, you know, you learned this and, you know, through some trials.
Yes. Pain is an amazing teacher. It is a powerful teacher. And in my previous relationships, I did not show the man respect. And that created turmoil, that created friction. And the relationship didn't last, right? There were other factors at play, of course. But as I reflect, I learned from that. I said, you know what? I'm going to do different this time. I ran across a quote, and I'm paraphrasing, and you know I'm the queen of quotes. And it says, when referencing to a parent to a child, the parent says, take the good things from me and build upon it. Take the worst parts of me and learn from it, right? And so I've learned a lot watching my parents, good and bad, and also from my own experiences in my relationships. And I've taken note to say, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. What do I need to do differently? Because I want a healthy, loving relationship, because I know that having a healthy marriage is going to put me in a position to do God's will better.
It's so hard to go from, like, to change. That's a paradigm shift.
Yes, it is.
And our culture is not friendly to support women or men men. I think our culture is friendly to men to respect women. I think that gets preached everywhere, right? But this idea of, I think right now, the women are under attack. And then I think men are under attack because the message to women right now, popular message, is what? You're strong.
Yes.
Be strong. Be loud.
Yes.
Like, don't back down.
Yes.
Which, that's a great message in context, right?
In context.
Yeah. Break that down.
Well, it's so fascinating. There's so much to untangle with that web. Yes, have a voice. Yes, be bold. But don't be disrespectful. Don't crush the spirit. Be supportive. You can't give what you don't have, and that's where that internal work comes from, right? We are our reflection. of the internal self. And I have been, right now I'm in this program to understand emotional intelligence more. And so these last few days I've been studying not only self-awareness, which is the first pillar of it, but finding biblical scripture to support that. And I want to read one if I can on
Please.
self-awareness. And it states, I'll read two. One is from Lamentations 3:40 says, "Let us test and examine our ways and return to the Lord." The second one is from Proverbs 25, and it says, "The purpose in a man's heart is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out." And when you understand who you are, whether it's the good parts or the bad parts, that's where the work begins. And so sometimes we take the best parts of ourselves and use that power for evil and not good. And yes, be bold, have a voice, blaze that trail, absolutely. But don't burn people on that trail in the process.
It's good. It's so interesting, this whole movement of pushing girls to be loud, to be proud, to take their place. And again, in context, that's good.
Yes.
But what you're talking about is so much more powerful because it's inner beauty, inner peace, which is all inner power.
Absolutely.
Then they don't have to beat their chest or stand tall. They just shine.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is, and I think I shared this with you, that I have a background in politics. And so I've learned to assess the room. And you can tell the most powerful by who is the most quiet, who is silent. Power is silence. It's silent, excuse me. And you can feel it. You can tell. It's a presence that is amazing, right? And you don't have to be loud, boisterous, but you can be quiet and calm. It reminds me of, I think it was Elijah, I might be wrong in this, where he thought that God was speaking through the fire, through this wind, but it was this stillness, right? This quiet voice. And so you can be powerful and bold by being silent in the appropriate time, but then there's times to speak up, right? We have so many references in the Bible and other books and historical stories of women being bold and sharing their truth. We need that, right? But again, quote Queen here, the right thing at the wrong time can be the wrong thing. Timing is everything.
And as a man, I observe women who enter a room with grace and with beauty and with elegance and with class, and they bring you in without saying a word. Mm-hmm. And then then you want to hear what they have to say. Mm-hmm. And then there's others that they're trying really hard, and that's what it comes across as.
Yes, and sometimes it's a mixture of, who are you trying to prove this to? Yourself or those in the room?
Yeah. So what would you say to, if there's a parent listening or a girl who's a teenager or in college age, what advice would you have for them to, like, they want to have influence, they want to have impact, they want to lead, which is awesome. We need them to lead.
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
How do you do that with grace? Where do they start?
I would say the best place to start is within. And I mentioned this before, you can't give what you don't have. And you have to respect yourself first before you can expect others to do that as well. So self-awareness is the first pillar in emotional intelligence, but also the first step in gaining power internally and externally.
That's good. And I'd also say this, like, man, girls out there, young ladies, you have to love yourself.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're saying the same thing.
Yes.
Like, it starts with that internal work and respecting yourself, valuing yourself. You got to love yourself. And then the second thing is, I think that the most influential women, they have a cause, they have a purpose. Mm-hmm. They know who they are.
Yes.
And they know what their calling and their purpose is. And the most attractive ones, their purpose is people and building up and giving and adding value.
Yes.
And that passion is infectious.
Absolutely.
And it drives them to have influence.
Absolutely.
Which is that you're one of them.
Thank you.
Right? That's who you are. I'm explaining you.
Thank you. Thank you. There's nothing more powerful than a servant leader. There are a lot of people in leadership positions who are not leaders. It's just their title. But there's others who are servant leaders. They put others first, which is a great way to influence people. It's a great way to build social and political capital when you are in this position of service.
What would you say to some of the ladies out there that they're looking for a boy, a man, they're looking for love, which we opened up talking about marriage and relationships, and maybe they think they have to be this loud, proud, whatever. What tips do you have for them as they're on that search, on that path?
Yes. I would say love yourself, because love will appear after that. I wasn't looking for my husband. We talk about this as well. I would tell him, I wish I would have met you earlier. I wish I would have met you sooner. But then he would remind me that, remember you said, if you would have met me earlier, we would not have worked out.
Wow.
And that is so true, because the woman I was before I did the work was wounded, was broken, was bleeding, and I would have bled all over him. I would have sabotaged our relationship. And so if you do that work internally first and love yourself, take yourself out on dates. I used to woo and dine myself all the time, give myself gifts, right? Because if I recognize that within myself, others will follow suit.
That is so powerful. And I hope girls are leaning in, because that is so true. And instead, what they're tempted to focus on is, I need a boy, I need a man to heal me.
Ooh, and that's so dangerous, because you will become a slave to them. You will be, who the Son has set free is free indeed, right? You will go into bondage, and you will be constantly trying to get that approval. And the work that I do with my clients is, who are you trying to please, right? And it is a very dangerous game to play when you're trying to put yourself in a position like, I need you to love me. I need you to make myself feel good. That is very dangerous. That's not their responsibility. That is the work that you have to do, and the love that you have to find within yourself and within the relationship you have with God.
We'll just drop the mic right there. That's so good. And I want to keep going, but we're out of time. Cherri, thank you so much for joining me again.
Of course.
So good. If you enjoyed this episode, would you do me a favor? Would you click the like button and the subscribe button? And before I let you go, I know that you're listening and you're tuning in because you're interested in helping kids live a 5-star life. And maybe you have a teenager, or maybe you're the grandparent of a teenager, and you want to be as resourced and in the know as you can. That's why over the last few years, we've been developing an app really to be that support for every parent, every grandparent, anybody that wants to work with kids. It's going to be full of resources, like you've just heard us talk about how to help teens through challenging situations, challenging conversations, but it's going to be filled with lessons directly for teens themselves that you can walk through with them. Kids are sponges. They want to grow, but often they need somebody to sit down and go through it with them to help them get it started. This is your season. This is your time. And the 5-Star Life app is a tool that we've created. We're launching it soon. Go to our website. On the banner, you'll see a little link there to join the app waitlist so you're the first to be notified.